Okay, in today's class, we are going to see all the concepts of Unit 3. So that is, I'm going to revise all the concepts just to go through those concepts while discussing. Well, if you have any doubt, if you got any doubt, just ask me at the time. So I'll revise. Okay, I'll clear that up. Okay, now Unit 3 is having two important concepts. Those are exception handling and multi-threading concepts. So very important concepts for Java. And okay, first we'll see about exception handling. So the students who didn't listen this or who listened this class, try to listen well and try to note down the important points also. Very important. Okay. So exceptions means those are the problems which arise during the execution of the program. Those exceptions may come because may come through the because of following results. When users may enter the incorrect output, incorrect input, or like that. File not found, network problem, JVM problem, different types of problems like that. All these are the exceptions. And if at all any exception occurs, then being a programmer, it's our duty that we should handle that. In Java programming, the Java runtime system. So it's also having some exception handling default exception handling mechanisms. So that will also perform some exception handling mechanism. Okay. So now this would the exceptions may be the uh, runtime errors. Those are the more. I mean, in Java, this concept would be used to handle the runtime errors. Uh, so though actually those are two types, mainly importantly two types, checked exceptions or unchecked exceptions. Errors are also there, but we won't discuss those about the errors. Those are environmental, those problems, the errors may come through the environmental condition situations. Those cannot be solved. Okay, so we won't discuss about those errors. We'll see about we'll emphasize on only exceptions. Okay, checked exceptions means those are the compile time exceptions. Compiler will checks those. Checked exceptions must be handled through the must be handled by the user itself. User has to do. JVM cannot because those are not runtime. Java runtime system is having some exception handling mechanism on runtime only, not compile time. So being a programmer, we have to take care of checked exceptions. Okay. Unchecked exceptions means those are the runtime error exceptions. Compile time cannot check those. And the JVM is able to, runtime system is able to handle those. Okay. Explicitly, we can also handle, programmer can also handle those. So it's unchecked exceptions. Okay. So these are the two types of exceptions, and these are the differences between errors and exception. The table includes that information. So next to in Java for exception handling mechanism, there is one special package that package comes from java.lang and that in class is throwable class. So throwable class. Okay, okay, good evening, Sunil. Yeah. So try to follow the revision. Any doubts, ask me, Sunil. So it's better to interact, not to message. So interaction is more important. So then only there is a chance to,
Okay, sir.
yeah, try to speak because that's it. You should not, no need to fear anything, no need to hesitate, no need to feel shy, because this is for your future. If you have proper communication skills, you'll get more confidence. That too now it's online. Nobody will see you, nobody will like that. If you practice in this online, then offline automatically that flow will come. So all of you try to speak. That's why I'm 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 ask. I mean, I'm telling you so many times, but nobody utilizing this opportunity. Okay, from the global class, the exception subclass or the exception subclass, then again it is having two subclasses: checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Each subclass have their own built-in classes again. Those built-in classes totally, those classes are have been divided into 27 types. So checked exceptions 7, unchecked exceptions 70. So those are all very important built-in classes. Okay. So here in this figure only 4 are there. These are some important runtime exceptions. So apart from this, some more are there. Total 17 are there for runtime exceptions. Okay. Next to built-in exception with user-defined exception. So built-in exceptions, I mean, JVM, that's what previously whatever I have exceptions I have shown. So those are all the built-in classes, built-in exceptions and those things. So runtime as a system automatically uh, uh, performs the exception handling mechanism by using those built-in classes, built-in things. Yeah, user-defined exceptions we have to do. I mean, being a programmer, being a user, we have to do that handling the exceptions. By using there are 5 keywords out there in Java. By using those keywords, we can handle it. Okay. So these are all built-in exceptions. Advantage are there, the exceptions. So advantage means in general, if we solve the exceptions, what happens? Obviously, the program efficiency will increase. The program will give better outputs and the compiler, I mean Java also, JVM also, without any problem, it is able to solve the that program or problem also. So like that, uh, uh, understand the concept, then automatically you may get you may observe some advantages. You can explain your own way also. Points are island, that's not the thing like that. Just to understand the concept, just feel the, I mean, advantage of what would be the advantage of exception handling. You can write by your own, whatever you understand. Next, these are the important concept. That is the two models of exceptions: terminator model and resumptive model. Terminator model means here the program will be terminated whenever the exception is handled. That's it. That program won't perform some other, I mean, other actions. So all the whenever the Java runtime system is going to handle the exception, that model comes model belongs to terminative model now, because Java runtime system won't perform other things apart from the handling the exceptions. The resumptive model means by this can be all the models, all the programs which can be there. If all user is going to handle the exceptions, that model will comes under resumptive model. Okay, resumptive model means after handling the exception, again the program will be resumed and the program will perform some other action for whatever the purpose we have that program is being meant for. So that program will give that results. Apart from handling the exception, that program will also perform some other action and it will give the results outputs. Next, keywords, 5 keywords, both the 5 keywords. Try, throw, catch, throw, some finally. First, try block. So try block we already know. Actually, we already studied this concept in C++. So try block is used for whenever there is a chance to get exceptions. Those instructions will be kept inside the try block. Next, there may be a more number of catch blocks for a single try block. So among those, the try block exceptions, that exception will be thrown. Will be thrown either implicitly or explicitly. Then the respective exception catch block will be executed. Now tell me, any one of you. Now my question for you is, how Java runtime system identifies the respective catch block. For example, there are 10 catch blocks are there. The try block has thrown an exception. Then among those 10 catch blocks, which catch block will be executed? Yeah, any one of your boys and girls? How Java runtime system
Based
identifies?
on type of exception.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Good So based on types of exception, because Java runtime system will be having some type of exceptions. Those are already in the previous table I have shown. 27 out there. Among those types, so exception may belong to any one of type. So based on that type, because the exception will be thrown in the form of object, that object type and the exception catch block will be having the class type. If on both will be matched, then only the respective catch block will be the respective catch block will be executed, and the remaining catch blocks will be bypassed. Those won't be executed. It's similar. Its execution is similar to the switch case. So only one case will be executed. Remaining cases are bypassed. Like that here also. So now in a try catch mechanism, if there is throw, if there is no throw word, then JVM Java runtime system automatically performs the implicitly performs throw concept. So it automatically throws the exception to respective catch block. So that is also another important concept there. So next, so multiple catch clauses. That's what I got. For a single try statement, there would be many number of catch blocks. Okay, each catch block must be executed for only one try, not for 3 tries. So that is also another important. And while writing the catch blocks, multiple number of catch blocks, we should take care of the subclass and superclass. If a catch block is having superclass thing, that must be written after the subclass. Subclass must be written before itself. So that is an important concept, because if we have written the superclass in the starting means, then superclass will be able to handle that exception. Then the subclass, the execution won't come to subclass. Even while writing itself, we'll get error. So that's is the thing you should take care before writing the multiple number of catch blocks with subclass and superclass exception types. So nested try statement means it is another concept where one try block will be present inside another try block. Okay, on the nested try block in this mechanism, the Java runtime system stores the exceptions information. Those tries under exception information inside a stack, so that because if at all more number of exceptions are there, so those will be handled. Those will be matched with the respective catch block by using the stack one. Every time the top of the exception will be popped out and it will be matched to on any one of the catch block in the program. Say from there is no match, then that exception won't be handled, and the runtime system will go for next top of the next exception which is on the top of the stack. So like that, all the exceptions which are present in stack will be checked with the respective catch block. So if all the nested try system is there, the exceptions will be stored in stack data set. Okay, that is also another thing. If there is no catch statement, then what runtime system will handle the exceptions? That is obvious, you know that. So the Java runtime system is the beauty of that one is it will check for the catch block, and there is no match is there, then runtime system automatically performs the exception. Now my question is, how Java runtime system is going to handle any exception? How Java runtime system handles the exception if there is no catch block? So in that process, what happens? Anybody? So how Java runtime system handles the exception? Yeah, boys or girls, anybody try to give the answer for this question? Java runtime system ఎలా హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తారు ఎక్సెప్షన్ వస్తే?
Default handler, sir.
Okay, good, very good. Default handler. How that default handler handles the exception? డిఫాల్ట్ హ్యాండ్లర్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ ను ఎలా హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తుంది? యా టెల్ మీ. చెప్పాలా? బాయ్స్, గర్ల్స్, ప్రసన్న, సులోచన, ఇందు, ఇవన్న, all of you. Try to, whether correct or wrong, that is secondary. Try to speak something. From your knowledge, whatever you are having, whatever the concept, just let me know. That's it.
ఇంప్లిసిటీలీ సార్.
ఓకే, ఇంప్లిసిట్లీ చేస్తా. ఇది ఎలా చేస్తుంది అంటే అవుట్పుట్ మనకి ఏమి ఇస్తుంది? ఆ డిఫాల్ట్ హ్యాండర్ మనము యూజర్ కి ఏం తెలుస్తుంది? హౌ మీన్ వాట్ ఇట్ గివ్స్? హ్యాండ్లర్ ఏం చెప్తుంది, ఎలా హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తుంది?
By defining a path.
Yeah, that's what. Exactly. Very good. So the default handler, what it does is it generates a string type of message. One message, it generates a message. That message will contains the stack trace information. Stack trace information means it contains the information about that exception, in which method, which line, which what is the type of that exception, everything. So it gives that the message to the user. So like that it handles. That's it. So if at all default handler is going to handle the exception, then that model would be which model it will be, either terminative or resumptive model?
Terminative model, sir.
Yeah, terminative model, because that handler will handle, so only generates the message and terminates the program. That's it. It won't go further. It won't perform the actions further in the program. If you want to perform resumptive model, what we have to do? Being a programmer, to get the resumptive model, to perform that model in the program, then challenge, what we have to do? Resumptive model రావాలంటే ఏం చేయాలి?
We use
final block.
Yeah, that's a very good, Sunil. We have to use finally block. Finally block is meant for that resumptive model only. All inside a method, for example, there is a method only. That method is very important method. That method is having very important instructions to give, which will which will produce the output. So if at all that method is going to execute, in that method there is a chance to get exception also. A method లో exception వచ్చేదానికి chance ఉంది, as well as that method is going to perform some crucial operations. At that time, we must go for resumptive model only, because our objective or aim is that exception should be handled, as well as those crucial operations are also must be performed after handling the exception. That is our expectation. That is our thing. Now, how that could be achieved is, whatever the crucial operation, whatever the important instructions, all those will be kept inside a finally block in that method. You can keep all those things in a finally block, and remaining wherever there is a chance to get the exception, we can keep those things in try block. So like that we can handle. The finally block objective is finally block, what it does is, it won't mind out, it won't take, it won't but think, I mean, that finally block will not waits for the exception, and either that exception is handled or not. It won't think. Simply the finally block, whatever the statements are there, those will be executed first. Those will be executed. Either cache block is there, exception is handled or not, it won't mind, it won't think. Won't wait for those things, because finally block is finally, that's it. Name itself tells that it is final. First, that's those things must be final. Those like that, the resumptive model can be we can achieve. We can design like that. So throw. So explicitly we can use the throw mechanism. We can perform throw mechanism here. If there is no throw, then Java runtime system automatically performs implicit throw. So those are the next throws. Throws is it is a one special mechanism Java programming. What is the advantage of throws? Anybody? Throws.
Same method does not have
Yeah, very good. Tell me, continue.
same
Correct.
have a solution.
Yeah, that's what. A method is there. That method is able to identify the exception, but that method is not unable to solve the solution, unable to have the solution for the exception. Same method cannot solve that. At that time, it has to take the help of another method. So at those situations, we have to use throws mechanism. The throws mechanism where the syntax might be, we have to write that syntax while defining the method itself. In the header part of the method, we have to write the throws, and while writing that one, the throws will list the type of exceptions also. Which type of exception that method may produce. So basically, those type of exceptions belongs to checked exceptions only. For checked exceptions only, we have to use. We supposed to use throws. For unchecked, no need to use throws. We can use, but Java runtime system automatically identifies it. That's why if at all the exception is checked one, then go for throws. Okay, that is a one note you have to note. And inside the definition of that body, we have to use throw again. Both throws to throw, both we should use. Okay, planning that check the exceptions. And if at all the method is not unable to give the solution for that exception. So this is about throws one. And type these are these tables, two tables are there. One table is unchecked. This is the unchecked exceptions. 17 exceptions are there. And these are the checked exceptions. 7 exceptions are there. Finally, block I told importance of that one already. Okay, this is a very important thing in Java programming. Next to built-in exception, that's what's totally 17, 24 things are there. So next to creating our own exception subclass also, we can create our own exception subclasses. So that those subclasses can be used for further purpose, for in future purpose. That is the concept of reusability. So we can create while if you want to create, we have to extend from exception class only. We can create like that only. And we can override all the built-in methods which are present in that exception class. So these are all methods. So while overriding, we can use these methods to solve our that situation specific problems. Okay, because the built-in exceptions, those may not solve all the problems. Some problems may come which will not be present, which will not be classified as those built-in class. So problems may be like that also. At that time, we can go with this creating our own subclass. Okay. So that is about the first part of unit 3. Any doubts in that one? Exception handling mechanism. Any doubts? Any topic you want to repeat again? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay, next one is multi-threaded programming. Next one. So if you want to perform more number of tasks in that particular point of time, you can go with this multi-threaded. Basically, that multitasking can be done in two ways. That is, one is process based, another one is thread based. So process based is that is processes. More number of processes can be done in a single line. That is, for example, what we are doing now. We are using PPT, Zoom, all these things in a single same point of time. Now multiple processor are being executed now here. So now the multi-processing system will be handled by the OS. The multi-thread concept will be handled by Java. So Java runtime system, Java programming can handle the runtime, I mean multi-thread concept. Multi-threading is in a single program, more number of tasks. More number of tasks in a single. So these are the differences between multitasking and multi-threading. Okay. So next, thread model. What is the thread? It means thread is a lightweight process. Runtime. It's a lightweight process which is able to perform some small action. The thread lifecycle inside the uh, uh, Java programming is basically it would be from new state, runnable state, running state, and dead waiting state like this. Resume all these things. So lifecycle so that lifecycle will use the will use that information about how what are multiple threads are there, how to know which thread is in which thread like that. Uh, to know that information, this lifecycle will do better understanding. So next to the thread properties. So thread properties. Uh, uh, So inside the Java programming, all threads will have their own priorities based on their importance of work. Uh, yeah, based on the priorities, those are going to execute. The for all high priority threads there, that thread will be executed first, low priority next like that. So this process changing from one thread to another thread, the execution control will change from one thread to another thread. So this process is known as context switch. So context switch. This context which to do that context switch, basically there are two ways or there. One is relinquish. I mean, voluntarily that low priority thread will give up relinquish is execution to high priority thread. Voluntarily gives the control to the high priority. That is one way. Another way is preemption. Means forcibly the high priority thread forcibly takes either it won't mind of either that thread is completed or not. Simply the control will be taken from that low priority thread. Okay. Next, if the two threads are having same priority, then there is a problem. There is a chance to get portability problem. Then that can be handled by the EOS or our system. Next important concept is synchronization. It would be managed by using monitors or semaphores inside the Java program or in OS also, operating system also. The concept now monitors and semaphores are will be used to achieve the synchronization. Next, if you want to create a new thread, before going to see that the main thread is there. So this main thread is the main method inside the program that will be executed. That main thread the objective is it starts the program as well as it ends the program. So the entry point and the exit point like that, the thread will act as. If we want to control, if you want to have control on this main thread, uh, then we can have that control. How to do that one is by using the current thread method. So by using that, we can get the control of that main thread, and we can do operations on that main thread. We can change the main thread name, and we can do some other operations. Next, creating a thread. So we can create a new thread by using two ways, either by using interface or by using the thread class. So in your both methods, we supposed to use a run method, and to start that run method, we have to start method. So those are the basic steps. So first we'll see the first by using the runnable interface. Here steps are there. So steps is first we have to create one child, I mean thread by implementing from interface. Next, we have to we have to write all the important instructions, working the instructions inside the run method. Next, we have to create one main thread in some other class or same class also. After creating that main thread, we have to create one object of the chain class. Then we have to that object must be extends from the thread class. Then only it will become a thread. Otherwise, it won't be considered as thread. It would be assumed as just a simple object. If you want to make that one as a thread, we're supposed to extend from thread class, because this is the process where the new thread class has been created from interface, not thread class. So in fourth step, again we have to use thread class here. So then only that will be considered as thread. So from thread reference, we have to start that run method. Then run method will perform the respective actions. So this is why this is the way to create a new thread class. Next, these are the steps to create the thread class from by extending the thread class from thread class. Same points, same steps, but thing is here we no need to associate the we no need to extend the chain thread with thread class, because in starting step itself we are creating the chain class from the thread class. It has been extended from thread class. So step one itself, the thread class is will be considered as a thread, separate thread. Now whatever the objects which will be created from that class will be considered as the threads itself. Remaining all the steps are same one. Next, to multiple threads, we can also create multiple threads. If at all multiple threads are there, then there is a problem may come like that. The main thread must be terminated lost. Main thread must be lost. Must be exit lost, because that main thread is going to provide the exit things for the program. So all the threads, all the chain threads must be completed before the main thread. So that can be handled by using these two methods, is like join method. Actually, without this, we can manage that thing by using sleep by keeping the sleep time, but that is not a feasible one. It won't give good results, because that sleep time will be for just by predicting that sleep. Though maybe that those child their threads may complete within this time, like that we predict and will keep the more sleep time for the main thread. So that is not the good solution for program. So if you want, so better way is by using is alive one join method. So is alive